Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this webinar. We are going to give it just another minute or two to allow everyone to dial in and navigate the webinar software successfully. So stand by. We'll get going in just a couple of minutes' time. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for dialing in and joining us at this time. Welcome to this Croud and Salesforce Datorama webinar, all about how Croud creates marketing intelligence with Datorama. My name is Jonathan Beeston. I'm Product Marketing Director in Europe for Salesforce Datorama. And with me today is Stuart Arrowsmith. Stuart, do you want to say a few words to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello everybody. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Stuart Arrowsmith, the Head of Data Visualisation at Croud. Really looking forward to talking to you about our offering today.
Thanks, Stuart. So before we get underway, let's just have a few notices. Definitely the most exciting notice, but I'm assured it's very important, which is our forward-looking state. Just bear in mind, Salesforce is a publicly traded company, so whatever purchasing decisions you may be making, please make sure you're doing that on products available today and on whatever features that are available today. So, glad we got that one out of the way. First of all, let me thank everyone for dialing in. It's super busy. I know there's no shortage of webinars for people to dial into at the moment, so thank you for choosing this one. A little bit of housekeeping. We are recording this, so if you have to drop out early or you'd like to share this with colleagues later, then no problem. You'll get an email with a copy and a link to the recording, so you'll be able to do that. Second thing, we do want to make this as interactive as we can. You should be able to access the little question and answer box in the webinar window, so do bring that up. Feel free to test it. If at any point during this you're having trouble with the video or the audio, feel free to drop a point in there. We'll try and make it whatever adjustments we can as we go. Second thing, just make sure it's working anyway. Feel free to just drop in there, where you are in the world or which room of your house you are working from. That's always interesting in lockdown times. Just to make sure it's coming through. And at any point throughout our slides, feel free to drop questions in. We've got time at the end to cover those. So I should bring up our agenda at that point. So what you're going to hear, I'm going to talk for a little bit about Datorama and why measuring marketing performance is important. And at that point, I'll hand over to Stuart, who's going to tell us all about how Croud creates marketing intelligence with the Datorama platform. And as I said, we'll have plenty of time for questions at the end. So let's get going. I can see a couple of points coming in. So it looks like the Q&A is working. That's great. Hello to you all there as well. And let's just start to set the scene about why we're here and what we're talking about. So we know that the most important aspect of any marketer's skill set at the moment, and indeed at any moment, is agility. And that agility is important because, a marketer has two things to do. One, of course, is the custodian of that customer experience. And the building trust with customers and engaging with them in the right way and personalizing the experience. But behind that is data and is marketing investment, and that's the other half of the modern growth marketer's role, is to find growth in good times, and at the moment we're thinking a lot about efficiency. And to do that needs the right kind of agility to find the right ROI, to do test and learn processes quickly and effectively, and drive not just marketing impact but business impact that makes a difference to the organization that a marketer works for. And what we thoroughly believe here at Datorama is that the key to doing that is to having the right data available to you so you can navigate that process with confidence. And whether that's in more certain times when you're thinking about growth, where you're thinking about winning market share and competitive advantage, or perhaps as we are at the moment in more uncertain times where we're thinking about how do we find efficiencies, how do we plan and execute our budgets in the right way, and also prepare for that growth which we hope is going to come before too long. But there are three real foundational data challenges that we see that marketers have to conquer if they want to really answer that challenge. The first one is that lack of a unified view of marketing investment. Marketers invest their budgets in all sorts of different places. They have all sorts of different data sources, and bringing all of that data together in one place is extremely challenging. And because that's challenging, that also means trying to have access to that data and understand and find insights around that data in real time is also really difficult. And because you don't have those insights, it's then much harder to optimize to the right ROI and drive the right result. And the third thing is, and this is particularly true in our times when we're all working from home, is how do we drive the right alignment and governance across organizations so we can collaborate with the right way across teams, across regions, across business units. And these challenges are incredibly pressing at the moment because marketers are getting asked really tough questions. What programs, what journeys, what channels do we keep? What do we cut? Given that we're being asked to look at our budgets very hard and sometimes make very big reductions to those budgets. And which campaigns and journeys and messages are resonating at the moment. And I think we're all aware that looking back on what happened this time last year or even this time last quarter actually might not be that useful as to how consumers are responding and reacting to our advertising today. Of course, we've got to think about efficiency, and that's, every marketer is being asked that. How can we be sure that every pound we're spending is being spent in the right way to drive the best ROI possible? And, the fourth thing, which is unfortunately the economic reality, is how can we do all of that? How can we be more data-driven, but without being able to add headcount, without being able to add resources to do that? And what marketers need to conquer all of this is a system of record. Marketing and marketing data is different from other kinds of data that organizations have to access because it lives in so many different places and often lives in places that, as a marketer, we don't control. So that could be inside the Google Ads or the Facebook ads ecosystem or a programmatic ads ecosystem. It could equally be in our email and CRM systems, our web analytics, our mobile app analytics, whatever sales and commerce systems we're working in. There's so many different data silos which we don't have full control over. We did some research at Salesforce at the back end of last year, and we discovered that when we interviewed about 150 marketers, and this was in the US, that on average they were bringing in 24 different data sources into their tech stack. It's an enormous amount of data to be trying to control. The other challenge that marketers have is all the different silos, and those are silos inside a business, like obviously the C-suite, the CMO, maybe our email teams, marketing analytics teams, and also the partners the marketers work with in agencies and consultancies. And then, you multiply that by business complexity, particularly here in Europe, where there's multiple regions, lots of business units, different products. It really makes it very challenging to control all of that data, because right in the middle of that is that question, how do we find the right efficiency and ROI? How do we find the right optimization insights? How can we be sure we're all collaborating around the right set of KPIs and we're aligned to that? And that's where Datorama helps marketers drive measurable business value, and we do that in 4 ways. One is, of course, the customer relationship, bringing your data together, helping you get much closer to your customer and how you're engaging them so that you can optimize whatever you're doing in your messaging to meet your customers' needs. The second thing is around efficiency and ROI. As you bring all of your data into one place, it becomes much simpler to identify what's working and what's not. And typically we find when customers start working with Datorama, it becomes very easy to identify investments that are not being spent in the right place, whether that's creative that's not functioning, whether that's campaigns which are old and should be switched off, all sorts of reasons. But on average, we do find a good chunk of spend that can be reinvested elsewhere. The third thing is all about speed and innovation. When I talk to marketers, I hear lots of Excel spreadsheet hell of people, spending, the first days in a week, the first weeks in a month, just trying to get all of their data into one place and wrestling with that in Excel and PowerPoint. It's time that could be better spent, reinvested in, discovering insights, testing and learning new strategies, and trying to improve effectiveness. And the fourth thing, when you do get everything into one place, is being able to provide that sort of visual alignment and collaboration, so all of the stakeholders can be looking at sets of data, sets of reports, sets of dashboards, where everyone's agreed on what the KPIs are, everyone's agreed on how that data is put together, and there's 100% trust that data that everyone's looking at is the correct data. And my last slide, before I hand over to Stu, who's going to tell you how this works in practice, is that's how Datorama helps marketers come together and build that marketing intelligence picture across all of their data. So we help them build that marketing system of record and connect and unify all of their marketing data in a way that they can do that with clicks, with not code, without IT support. And we have AI layered in across the system to really help uncover actionable insights and help you set up alerts, goals, so that you can quickly improve your ROI. We help you build visual experiences that align with the right metrics and goals and taxonomies to all of your teams. And lastly, because we're taking away a lot of that data management from you, it really gives you the ability to be agile and be innovative, and that's more important than ever, that you can constantly test and learn what's working and what's not across all of your marketing. So that's about Datorama. Enough about someone from Salesforce talking. Let's move on to Croud. So Stu, I'm going to hand it over to you and let you talk about how Croud works with the Datorama platform.
Excellent. Well, hello everybody. Thanks so much for dialing in. Really excited about this. This webinar in some ways is about, 3 years in the making, in that we've been using Datorama at Croud pretty much all of that time. We've got about 10 years experience between the entire team. And the timing of this is no coincidence. We've just become an implementation partner for Datorama. So we're really hoping that we can bring a lot of our practical experience of delivering the kind of product and outcomes that Jonathan was outlining in his introduction to fruition for you. So let's start with an outline of what I'm going to cover. So I'm going to tell you about Croud, the agency that I work for. And we're going to talk about how we actually implement dashboards, so the strategy behind it. So not just you've got a list of things you're in Excel, you've got a list of things you need to put those same things in Datorama. But actually, how do you take that and funnel it? How do you decide what's important and what's not? How do you navigate a project management timeline with perhaps like fixed T&M that you've got to deal with? Obviously, we're in an even more challenging circumstance now than we've ever been from a business perspective. So, time to value and general value is even more important than it was before. And tied to that is the ability to measure at all levels that you need to measure to be able to demonstrate good performance and see perhaps where you could correct bad performance and turn it into good performance. Then we're going to look at how that approach has actually worked with a real client and the feedback we got. Again, excited about that because our client stories are so important. I know in the broader Salesforce ecosystem, it's all about clients and the feedback, and that's what really informs the platform. So great that we've got that to be able to go into. And then we're going to throw it open to you guys. I'm going to, throw myself to the wolves at the mercy of your questions. But I'm quite excited about that because that's going to be a little bit off script. So can't wait to really get into that and some real conversations about the problems and challenges that you're having in your business. So let's press on and talk about Croud first of all. We've got to be really careful here. Really passionate about this business. You would not want to ask me this question in a lift, for example. You would be clamoring to get out the door. But I've worked at Croud for about 3 years. They've got an incredible USP in that they've got a network of around 2,000 on-demand specialists that can be leveraged, as well as a traditional digital media agency setup. And all of that is managed through a proprietary technology system that we've developed in-house. So we have the ability to scale very quickly, to fill projects, but also in that scaling, not lose sight of the nuance of localization that you need to really deliver a personalized marketing message to your audience. So, we're really unique in the market. I think what was really obvious to me when I was hired as head of Data Viz was I really wanted our data offering to live up to Croud's basically future thinking. So it's kind of the next, if you like, the future of agency, or that's certainly how we see it. And I wanted our reporting to be best in class, to be the future of reporting. And my background is even though I probably look about 12, I'm a bit of an old hand in this. I've been wrangling spreadsheets for, goodness me, about 7 years now. A bit of an Excel warrior. I think Jonathan alluded to that as we came to this point. I've tried lots of different options, and I can genuinely say, we're a customer as well, right? So I've been on that side of the equation where I'm looking at the platform, I'm comparing it against other solutions in that space and really ticking boxes and looking for that real point of difference. And Datorama delivers that in spades. I won't sell you Datorama. John's done a great job with that, but there'll be smatterings throughout this really that will demonstrate to you why it's such a good platform for the various uses that I'm sure have brought you here to speak to me today. Whether you're a brand, whether you're an agency, or whether you're a small business and you're really looking for ways to push out and opportunities in the marketplace, which of course we all are. So just talk a little bit about how we became a partner and what that means. So the Datorama partnership, how long's that been going, John? About a year? Less than that now. The actual it being open to people outside of Salesforce.
Around that, I think, if I remember rightly.
So something along those lines. We were really keen to be involved because we use Datorama every day. We consider ourselves, it's been fed back to us that we're fairly advanced users of that platform. And so we're really keen to kind of push that knowledge out and use it for the benefit of other businesses and share that knowledge. And obviously, Datorama is still quite new. It's an incredible technology. I think it's one of those things where it will always be underutilized just because it's so flexible. There's so much you can do with it. It's almost about trying to work out what the container is for you, right? Which of your 1,000 bullet points is actually going to deliver the quickest time to value for you as a business. So in terms of the partnership, the way it works is that partners are able to assist Salesforce with the implementation of leads that come to them. But obviously, that is an incredible achievement. And shout out to my team who I hope are dialing in. We'll have words later if you're not. For getting there, it's not an easy thing to do. So you need to have within your team a qualified project manager. That was me because nobody else wanted to do it, so I did that. But there's also then a solutions architect's certification as well, and that involves a boot camp which runs for about, I think it's like a boot camp that runs for a week, and then a series of simulations that run for 3 or 4 weeks where Datorama is the client, and then before that you need to pass 2, if not 3 certifications in the platform as well, and then you need to present a load of work. And talk to Datorama through how that platform works. You're basically selling ice to the Eskimos, right? You're selling a platform back to people who understand it back to front. So, it's really exciting to be here talking to you, having kind of got to the top of that mountain. And now I'm really proud to say we've got 5 solutions architects. So basically my entire team are certified now in the implementation of Datorama, and I'm certified in delivering the project management side of it in the way that Datorama would as well. So what we hope that really gives us is kind of like there's like a 2-prong offering, right? So we can deliver to you the same service that you would get from Salesforce. It would be a seamless process for you. But actually, we can bring with it our 10 years experience, combined 10 years experience of using this platform for real clients. So, I think that's quite an exciting combination. I'm really hoping that we can have some conversations off the back of this webinar, or in this year, that kind of brings that relationship to fruition. And in kind of getting to this point, I've certainly been very lucky to be involved with Datorama from the not quite the early days, in the Israel days, but pushing it into the UK. I was fortunate enough to speak at the first Datorama Limitless event, to come down to London and speak with you, John, at the Media Forum event with actual customers, which was great, and also deliver a webinar about data strategy in association with the John before this. So we feel like we've got a lot to offer, but obviously that's a lot of talk. So let's see what the reality is, the approaches that we've seen success with leveraging the platform. So in developing a dashboard, as I said before, you've got your biggest challenge with Datorama is there's just so many options. You can go in so many different directions. You've got a media cost center in there if you want to have like a tighter view on your media pacing. You've got an incredible range of visuals if you wanted to have a best-in-class pitch dashboard, or something that really spoke to seniors in your business and leverage performance data to do that. You could do that. There's a number of languages that are supported in the platform. You can have as many dashboards as you like, and based on your account, obviously, you can leverage a wide variety of data. There's I think it's about 130 API connectors native to the platform at the moment, which is just incredible. So the problem is about maintaining that laser vision while still trying to utilize as much as you can for the finite media spend you have, right? So it's like, how much can I have for as much as possible, which is a classic business problem. But so the solution we've kind of come up with is all about, rather than saying, I'm a business and I'm tied to Excel, I'm a business and I'm tied to another reporting platform, let's just take everything we've got and we'll stick it in Datorama, and that just takes as long as it takes. And then at the end of that, we'll have a review, and then possibly we'll see some benefit. And you almost are saying, in that period, we're going to perhaps be out a little bit of money because we paid for the platform. We've got the old platform. It's going to take time to train people and bring them over. And you almost just work that into your costings, right? But there is another way to do it. So what you could do, I'm an advocate of the media, what I call a media command center strategy. So what that is you create one dashboard first of all, and that dashboard gives you eyes on, a very, very top level eyes on your data in Datorama. It's just one place that everybody can go to be familiar with the platform. You can see what it covers off. Okay, so your general performance trends and KPIs, your campaign performance, whether that's your spend, start and end dates, or actually the actual KPIs for those campaigns, and then your spend against your spend targets. And then you've got a couple of segments in there, dependent on your business, and what are the most pressing segments. And the reason I suggest doing this is what it does is it will give you can know, like, we could turn something like this around fairly quickly. Like, let's say 80 hours to turn this around, and you'll be in a position where you can look at this, you can see straight away the state of your data. So you're looking at a top line, you're not going to overspend. You can already leverage the platform, or very, very quickly, a matter of weeks. And from that point, you can monitor this data and let it guide you as to where you go next. So rather than, I've seen before where cross-channel reports have been built in Excel, and to be honest with you, it's as much of a mission opening and updating those reports as it is actually using them. The time where you look at that data and leverage it is a fraction of the time you spend actually updating it. So there is a tremendous amount of false economy in remaining tied to these old platforms. So what this allows you to do is effectively treat your engagement with Datorama as a reset. We're going to go on to a best-in-class data platform. Let's now use this as a cutoff point and redress the way that we deal with our data. And the easiest way, I think, is to start with something like this. This also needs to be coupled with an understanding of the security that's in Datorama, which is best in class. Things like two-factor authentication, the ability to share and embed dashboards with different permission types, and then turn those off at a glance and in one place, sets it apart from other platforms. So, definitely look at that, the perhaps not so sexy side of it, but the things that actually practically deliver you a tremendous amount of value. So, a dashboard like this with a fixed T&M, and then a good amount of training on the what they call it, like the beautiful basics, I think is a really good place to start for your data strategy. Obviously, and I'll say this so many times, every business is different. This might not serve a purpose for certain businesses. They might be too big, but I would recommend really trying to hone down as part of your onboarding process exactly what you want. One dashboard which gives you that view and gives you breathing room. Your stakeholders want to build a dashboard. You build it, you take that pressure off, and give yourself enough room that you can really push forward with this bespoke strategy that's going to it's going to be a relaunch for you, the way your business engages with data. So just moving on to the next part, summary of that is just to say, time is always at a premium, even if you have a tremendous amount of time in your contract, because the sooner you can leverage the platform, the sooner you can recoup some cost of some kind, right? It's really important for internal stakeholders, particularly people who are signing this off internally, to have some good news from you to say, this thing that I said was great is great. Well done. You've made a good decision in backing me and getting this thing. So always bear that in mind. Time is so important. And again, I see that as part of my responsibility as a certified project manager, in that I can talk to you about that. I can try and understand what your needs are, and we can work out how best to, what configuration and what order those things need to happen to make the most of that, the time that you've signed off to actually get the build done. So you end up with a product that does what you wanted it to do right at the beginning, rather than bits and pieces. Move to monitor. So as soon as you can, get to a dashboard which gives you that top line view, so that you then have that breathing room. And the last one, sounds a little bit sci-fi, I guess, but let the data guide you. So once you've got this first draft dashboard, like an MVP, minimum value proposition dashboard, use that to tell you where to go next. I wouldn't say we've got 100 markets, whatever it is. We need to segment all of those. Let's just do that straight away. Bang, off we go. Because what will happen is, if you scale too quickly, you might find something that's useful and have to then do that many times. You'd be better getting an MVP, like the one I've just shown you, that monitors, tailoring it, and then once everybody's happy, all the users at the different levels in your business are happy, then duplicate that out. And then you can label that by market, like whatever you think is best. But sometimes taking that little bit of extra time to really understand the strategic thinking behind your data can save you so much time and money further down the road. And it means that you're in a better position, you're in a proactive position when the market changes, when you're adding channels, when you're training people. So yeah, just something to think about. So I tried to, in preparation for this, think about a phasing system, because it's all well and good to say, build a dashboard that just gives you a top line view of everything, right? That's a very different proposition for every client. But there are certainly things that we've learned in implementation that you could take away and build into your own projects. And so phase one here, as I said before, there is no perfect answer for all clients. But for phase one, I would say, for example, you were limited to 5 or 6 paid media connectors, right? That's a great place to start. There's a load of paid media connectors in Datorama. Some of the most popular ones I've put there on the top right for you to see in that bubble. And between them, you could get a flavour of your cross-channel. Now, because you could be on a fixed engagement, you might not be. You might be a huge business, in which case this looks a bit different. But say you're on a fixed engagement, you want to go into that process with questions that you're going to prove or disprove. So in the old world, we believe this about our business. This is now a new beginning. I want to test all of those things before I then put time and money into them. And using paid media connectors is a great way to do that, because you could say, I'm going to choose 5 paid media connectors which are indicative, right? So you could say, rather than plugging in everything for paid, you could put in Google Ads. Rather than plugging everything in for social, you could put in Facebook. Appreciate that isn't the full picture. But what it will do initially is give you that feedback of, at a very top line, do users engage in that funnel in the order that I think they do, and to the degree and the percentage that I think they do? And it'll give you food for thought about next steps. So you then might be moving into a specific paid media dashboard. Okay, well, now I have an idea of what the interplay is between the different platforms that I'm using to get that feel already. Okay, great. Now can be that the kind of the nucleus of that can be informed by that, as well as what I need from the performance teams in order for them to run effective activities. So straight away, you're not just getting something off the shelf. You're really leveraging your own information and the expertise that you've got in your business to create your dashboard templates. Worth mentioning as well, just to round that off, API connectors for paid media, great place to start, quick wins. Second one would be technical vendors. One blocker could be that you're a business that historically has always stuck with Microsoft. Generally they're older businesses. I don't want to label people. This is just my experience in terms of conditions, right? But they seem to be older businesses. They bought a Microsoft Office subscription a while ago. They're still renewing it. It's fine, right? New businesses, tech businesses, seem to, from my experience, use G Suite. We happen to be G Suite aligned. I guess we're those tech lovies. They seem to always use G Suite. But that's our go-to. Both of those are supported. That isn't a reason not to use and leverage Datorama. In fact, what you can do is, if you've got a subscription to Microsoft Excel and it runs out at the end of the year, right? You could begin engagement with this dashboard, get those insights, and then start to very slowly manage that data coming off Excel and into Datorama. And there's lots of ways you can do that. You can schedule reports in, and you can plug in folder locations as well. So it's not always about completely re-educating your people either, because I think that is a concern people have. We're invested in Microsoft, we're invested in G Suite, and that's what people know. We don't want to go back to the well in terms of reporting. Well, you'll be pleased to know that Datorama are well aware of that, and there's a lot in there that is really easy to use. Google Drive, you click on the Drive logo, you tell it the location, you tell it how frequently to pull the data in. You could have people in your business who never need to go in Datorama. I would never advocate that, but you could. God forbid people aren't going in Datorama all the time, but you could. And they just need to drop a file in a folder in Google Drive or OneDrive. For them, nothing changes, except for you have that data. So you don't have to completely change the structure of your business to take advantage of this either. The other thing you can do to obviously get goals in as quickly as possible is use something like the Google Sheets API connector. So if you're a G Suite aligned business and you have access to Google Sheets and all of the relevant security that comes with that, you can start putting in very, very basic Google Sheets. You can create them with a single dimension column with a date, perhaps a segment of your choice, brand, non-brand, channel, and then a third one with actually your target metrics for whatever granularity. You pull that in. That's quite easy. I can say, from a technical perspective, that's a fairly easy thing to do. And then straight away, you can see your targets. And this is, we're talking about a first engagement here. You can do all of this in your first engagement. And then with features that are already in the platform, they're already covered by your initial contract, you can leverage them. You can bump that up either after you've engaged in with the Salesforce team or Salesforce and Croud or whoever the partner is in that instance. Even after that, there is training in that where you can utilize features that are freely available in the platform to then enhance that data. So it's worth just going through that checklist in the first instance and making sure you're completely comfortable, because it's all there for you, really. There's almost just so many goodies, you don't know what to look at first. So a couple of other platform features I'll mention just while I'm on this slide. Advanced security settings, we mentioned that before. There's two features in the background. One is Harmonization Center. Effectively, what Harmonization Center does is it will check all of your naming conventions and it'll tell you where you're going wrong. Now, the bigger a business you are, the more valuable that is. The webinar that I did with the German Salesforce last, I'm pretty much banging on about that for 3 slides. I will save that, so don't put me on mute. But yeah, getting your naming conventions in order is probably the most important thing. It's not exciting, but it will make the biggest difference to the outcome that you have. Because if activities running is not named well, then there's no way that the Datorama can know what it's supposed to be without that information. Harmonization Center will look at all of your all the data that you've put in. You tell it what the naming convention patterns are. It runs pattern recognition software across all of that, and then it will say, hey, here's where you're going wrong. You can get that information, you can pass it to your teams, you can say, okay, I need you to go away and fix this over in this amount of time, dependent on the impact to the information that you've got. So that's really valuable. That's something that didn't exist at the inception of Datorama, and it's been developed because of customer feedback, which is fantastic. So something from the people for the people, probably a terrible slogan, but it works. Have a look at it if you haven't already. And the other one is Data Mapping Visualizer. This isn't for everybody, but if you've got a data team and you've got Datorama, point them in the direction of this tool. What it will do is it will say, in these 2 data sets, here's where you've got crossover. These things are linking together. Is that what you intended to do? And it's great. It basically just has like a linear strand, and they light up when they're the same, and you can check through. So all of this straight out the box to you. Please be aware of it. Please use it. So moving into phase 2. This is a really tricky one to draw up. Okay, as I said, no 2 businesses are the same. No 2 businesses have the same priorities. So, for example, I've put Marketing Cloud at the top here. If you're a Salesforce customer and you're chomping at the bit because Datorama is part of Marketing Cloud, it could be that your big part of your business is CRM, right? Or it could be that your main reason for engagement with Datorama is because you want to pull your Marketing Cloud data in which case, do that first. Absolutely don't listen to a word I'm saying. But I would say, that slightly more sophisticated data involves engaging with other parts of the Marketing Cloud suite. It might be something that you would want to give yourself more time to look at. To realize that and harmonize it with the data you've got might take longer. Now, it could well be that the people at Datorama, the technicians at Datorama, can very, very quickly plug that in and harmonize it. But it's there because Marketing Cloud can be one thing, it can be 5 things. So I thought, to be safe, so nobody could tell me off, I put it at the top of 2. So it's like 1.5, 1.2, whatever. So have a think about that. And then really, I guess it's about complementary platforms. And I guess, you really need to think about how far you want to go with this. But Datorama can come right along with you. Paid social is a great example. I shouldn't say paid social. Social as a whole is a great example. You start off with Facebook ads, paid Facebook, which is in phase 1. If you're seeing that social, you're a social-based agency, or for a fact that you see a great return through social, why not think about pulling in organic data for Facebook as well? Which is easy. There's a connector for that. You could pull in Facebook Insights as well. And if you really wanted to go to town, you could also pull in Crimson Hexagon. So if you've got a Crimson Hexagon account, suddenly you're doing sentiment analysis. You've got a paid view of social, an organic view of social, and then you've got a social listening perspective on that same data as well. And that's fascinating, not just to have it, but to have it in one place, to create a table where you can see a customer engagement journey and see whether actually you're as effective as you think you are. Or you can say, did that post have the impact I thought it would? People are still clicking on the paid stuff, but what are people saying in forums, or what's the organic traffic like? It's very interesting. Like, sometimes it's only when you put the pieces together that you uncover those nuggets, those little holes and those gaps in your marketing coverage that you could really leverage to make more money, basically. And another thing that I think is worth mentioning is the Baidu and Yandex connectors. So I know from the agency side of Croud that there's an awful lot of interest in APAC, in particular APAC, because it's a burgeoning market. There's a lot of people. Data and interaction with data is very different, but the engagement is incredibly high. So the potential is really high as well. Now at Croud, we've been very lucky. We've got an APAC team. We were able to translate, the Baidu API using our own people and build that out. But most people aren't going to be able to do that without wishing to pat us on the back. It's not something most people have the luxury of doing, be able to retain an APAC team. And so having that Baidu connector in there, is great. So just, you just put your credentials in there, start pulling that data in, and you can start approaching that market straight away. Same with Yandex. If you want to have a look at the Russian market or even try it, that's there waiting for you. I won't labour on these, but there's some more features at the bottom, scheduling reports, intelligent forecasting, intelligent goal tracking, and dashboard sharing, which I touched on before. Definitely look at those. So moving into phase 3, it might be that not everyone gets to phase 3, but it's great to know it's there. And if you have a lot of money to spend on your marketing, you're a business that has it and does well from it. It's really good to know that there are a lot of big data solutions available to you within Datorama. You can leverage databases, so your internal employee databases using MySQL, any sort of database for that matter. You can put in BigQuery, so if you want to do any deep dive analytics, it's there for you. Any high volume Google data, it can cover that for you. And Python, it supports Python. You can even host your Python scripts on the platform and it will run it for you and schedule it. So lots of things to explore there. If you want to talk about any more of that, stick it in the Q&A. We can cover it at the end. But yeah, lots and lots of opportunity. So in summary, find quick wins. Pay media connectors would definitely help you get where you need to go more quickly. Add context. So in that example with paid social, why not look at the other side to get a real 360 view of your activity, and work to analyse and activate the data that you've already got in the platform using the features that are already in there. So just to talk about the results we've had from customers with the approach I've just outlined to you. PaySafe is a financial services client that's been with us for 2.5, 3 years. They are a huge business who basically enable online e-commerce payments. They've seen just tremendous success across a lot of markets, and a lot of what they engaged to do was about really crafting that engagement. Basically leveraging that spend in an effective way, not just sort of machine gunning it across all the channels, but really looking for opportunities. So just because you've got a lot of money doesn't mean that you can't be smart about the way that you use it. And so the journey here, I think, is great, and it's what I'd say is a typical engagement. We give every client of ours Datorama at point of entry with Croud. which might seem unusual, but the reason is this kind of engagement. So if you look at this journey, we first started talking with PaySafe in 2017, where they retained us at the end of that year. Very soon after, we had first draft media dashboards for them. They covered the paid media that we managed for them. Then there was the aggressive expansion began, so our team started to look at opportunities to spend. They aggressively went after that. And they soon realised that when you're delivering spend at that volume and over that many markets, that Datorama, a platform like Datorama, becomes indispensable. And it was to the point where it was the place that the client and the agency met. Those numbers became more important than any other numbers because it was the single source of truth. It was the place that everything was going and could be visualised. That led to some really strong account performance. Credit to our team for that, but also because they got such a good view of what was going on. It was easy for them to look for opportunities. And now we're in the middle of, we were approached by the client to take on a project to build out a dashboard for their board. So really that's a full journey from people who we gave them Datorama, they worked with us, they increased their media spend, they rely on Datorama, and now they've engaged us to speak to the most senior people. And I think that kind of sums it up, our experience of Datorama and why I definitely advocate it, and I'd be more than happy to help anybody who wanted to go on that journey and accelerate that journey. I won't linger on this. The client had a problem, we demonstrated value, and for that comes opportunity. So just to say, really, I'd love to keep talking. We'd love to keep talking with you, people listening here. If you know somebody who wants to know more about the platform or wants to accelerate their engagement with Datorama, please do get in touch. My email's there at the bottom. The 3 steps that we can help you with are there, but we've got a tremendous amount of context and first-hand knowledge that we can share and impart with you. So yeah, please do reach out. And thanks so much for listening. Over to you, John. I'll take a breath.
Thanks a lot, Stu. That was fascinating, and thanks for taking us on that journey about where you start, and again, not where you end, because there is no end, but how you progress that maturity. Just remind everyone that if you want to ask a question, then feel free to tap that into the Q&A box. But just a couple of things that have come in. If we just talk about that sort of time to value, if you think about phase 1, what's the sort of what are we talking, weeks, months? How are we getting from okay, let's do this, to I've got a dashboard that's starting to give me some numbers, give me some visualizations that are useful to me?
I think standard engagement is about 8 weeks, but it really, to be honest with you, if you want to save time and money, it's worth you doing some research, like as a business, and coming forward and saying this is exactly what we want, because the better idea you have about what you want, the quicker it is to implement. Because a lot of it is about consultancy, understanding your business, what's important for you, and how can we meet those needs with the platform. But yeah, standard engagement is about 8 weeks. I think it's about 80 hours to get that MVP out. But there's 9 hours of consultation and calls in that as well, which I think it delivers a lot of value as well, because as part of this, you want to train your people to understand what they're doing and engage more with the platform.
And on the customer side, the marketer side, who's involved there? Is that, it's obviously a marketing person, but which kind of marketing person? Do IT get involved? What does that look like?
Generally, the engagement is sort of head of marketing, that kind of level. Really, it's one of those things where sometimes with these things, you're engaging with someone who's not at the right level for it, and it takes longer because the people you need are so busy. And you could do with talking somebody who's got a very, very broad business view of your client to steer it in that right direction. And it's unfortunately, I understand people are busy, but it is a false economy in that people are too busy to speak, but then they have to take time later to kind of adjust and make it right. So yeah, generally it's head of marketing. Not to say that the head of marketing isn't the right person, but generally people at that sort of level, that board level, would be great. The engagement though, the actual engagement when you're trying to understand about delivering a product that needs feedback from all levels of the business of your client business. I need to understand what a manager needs, what an exec needs, what a board level person needs, what a senior manager and a director needs, because they could be completely different. And the danger is if you get it wrong, you don't get engagement from those people and you never find that out. Actually, there's a dashboard where you can find that out, but I haven't got time to go into that. But you in the old world, until about 3 months ago, you couldn't find that out.
That's very true. That's a relatively new feature, but and glad that you've plugged it there. When we think about that sophistication, obviously when I was talking about Datorama, I'm talking about clicks, not code, and the ability for this to be self-contained within marketing people, whether that's at the client side or the agency side. But what are some examples of you getting more sophisticated to aggregate data and the sort of some kind of Croud secret sauce that you're adding there as well? What would be a good example of that?
So we use Python an awful lot. For us, we're really lucky in one respect because we're a dual business. We're a tech business, but we're also an agency business. So we retain tech people. So we have people who can write Python code. So it means that if someone approaches us where the platform doesn't have a connector in Datorama, but they have an open source API, we can write code into Datorama and potentially host that in the Datorama platform so they can just be scheduled on the Datorama servers and kind of be pulled in. There are other bits we do. I mean, to be honest with you, the other item where I'd integrate, why I would engage most with code would be around web languages using HTML, CSS, JavaScript. I know that the devs at Salesforce have just reworked all of those rich text widgets and they support those languages. They did before, but they do it now with quite a nice code window, which is a lot more user friendly than it was. And it means there's an opportunity to kind of woo a client. So your data's perfect, everything's great, but there is a lot to be said for a very nice dashboard that you enjoy using and you enjoy logging into and you can show people. And so that's something that I'm trying to do more, is have a degree of interaction and use that web language that, we all engage with the web every day. And the things that actually engage us, we might not even be conscious of. There are things that we just, I think, are prerequisites to web engagement that we're not even conscious of. And so I'm trying to build that into the DNA of what we do at Croud, if you like.
And what conscious of the time, so one last question. We've spoken a lot about data and getting that into the right format, visualizing it, but this is not an artistic exercise, right? This is all about trying to find insight, trying to find ROI.
Yes.
When you've got these dashboards and you've got these visualizations that you're trying to run your business from, what does best practice then look like in terms of decision making and finding that extra, squeezing out that extra few percent of return from your marketing investment?
Yeah, I think probably your first port of call would be to look at how you can save time of the people in your business. So you pay for Datorama. There's no point in them paying an exec 3 hours on a Monday morning to fill out that report that everybody knows and everybody hates and everybody dreads going out, right? So look at that. What you're paying for this amazing heavy lifting device, what is it doing that you don't need to do anymore? And if there's things that you're doing that are a pain, bring that into your engagement with us or with the Salesforce team and make them aware of that, because that for us is just like a light goes on. Okay, great, we can go here. And there's a good chance we can save that time. So you kind of win twice there, because you're not paying the person to do the work, but that person has more time to do whatever their core role is. So paid search is a good example. The poor old exec who does 3 hours of doing the report could be learning paid search, and they could be working on your account, looking at performance and opportunities to direct that ad spend. So that's definitely a really quick way to kind of to start seeing benefit from that initial spend.
Wonderful, thank you. Well, we are nearly gone all the way around the clock to past again. So let's wrap up there. First of all, thank you, Stu, for taking us through that in the last hour. That's really insightful. Really great to see, how these things are working in practice, and what your thinking is and what Croud's thinking is about how you're delivering value to your customers. So that's fascinating. Thanks to everyone who's dialed in and listened to that and submitted questions. Thanks again for your engagement and choosing this webinar as opposed to lots of other webinars I know you could have dialed into. So thank you for that. So with that, we will get an email out to everybody so you can get access to the recording of this deck, and you're free to share that with your colleagues. But thanks again. Have a great Tuesday afternoon, and hopefully we'll speak to you all soon.